South African Defense Force troops deployed in the Democratic Republic of Congo under the Southern African Development Community Mission in DRC are facing harrowing conditions, with reports of soldiers being critically injured, trapped in combat zones, and lacking adequate support. Calls for their withdrawal are intensifying. However, extricating troops from the volatile situation in DRC is proving to be far from straightforward. This article delves into the crisis unfolding for South African soldiers in the DRC, the government's response, and the broader implications of the mission. South Africa's involvement in the DRC is part of a broader regional effort under the Summit DRC initiative. The goal is to stabilize the Eastern DRC, a region long plagued by armed conflict, militia violence, and political instability. The SANDF's deployment is intended to support the Congolese government in countering rebel groups such as M23, which has intensified its attacks in recent months. Despite the noble intentions behind the mission, the reality on the ground has been dire. For South African troops, reports indicate that the soldiers have been placed in extremely hazardous conditions with inadequate resources and logistical support, making them vulnerable to attack. Recent reports have shed light on the perilous situation faced by South African soldiers in the DRC. A growing number of troops have been wounded, some critically, yet evacuation and medical assistance have been delayed or denied. One of the most shocking revelations was that a group of wounded SANDF soldiers expecting to be repatriated were informed at the last minute that their evacuation had been cancelled. This raised serious concerns about the government's handling of the crisis and its ability to ensure the safety of deployed personnel. In addition, reports indicate that at least 189 South African soldiers have been injured in combat, with some even falling pregnant during deployment, a concerning reflection of the chaotic conditions on the ground. These incidents highlight the lack of proper management, logistical planning, and support for troops who were sent into an active war zone with little preparation. The deteriorating situation in DRC has led to increased scrutiny of the South African government and military leadership. Defense committees in parliament have called for the immediate repatriation of fallen and wounded soldiers. However, withdrawing from the DRC is easier said than done. Military analysts have pointed out that while the SANDF's role in the DRC was meant to assist in stabilizing the region, the mission lacks clear objectives, sufficient resources, and a concrete strategy. This has led some experts to argue that the South Africa should withdraw from the DRC altogether, as the risks far outweigh the potential benefits. One of the most vocal critics has been General Rudzani Mapaha, who accused politicians of turning the SANDF into a Mickey Mouse defense force. His remarks sparked controversy, with some defending his stance while others criticized him for undermining military discipline. Defense Minister Thandi Modise has attempted to downplay these concerns, but the backlash continues to grow. In response to mounting pressure, the South African government has started repatriating some of the critically injured soldiers. Reports indicate that several mercy flights have been arranged to bring wounded troops back home for urgent medical treatment. Some of the soldiers were transported through Rwanda before being flown to South Africa. Despite these efforts, efforts, many questions remain. Why were these repatriations delayed for so long? Were the necessary resources and funding allocated to ensure the safe return of all injured troops? Families of deployed soldiers are demanding answers as concern grow over the welfare of those still in the DRC. The South African government now faces a critical decision. Should it pull out of the DRC entirely or attempt to reinforce its troop with better support and resources, with public opinion shifting against continued involvement and mounting pressure from opposition parties? A full withdrawal seems increasingly likely. However, leaving the DRC without a clear exit plan could have severe consequences. South Africa has invested heavily in regional stability efforts, and a hasty withdrawal could damage diplomatic relations within SADC and the African Union. Additionally, withdrawing South without ensuring that the DRC is in a more stable position could lead to further unrest, potentially dragging South Africa back into the conflict in the future. The situation in the DRC has exposed major flaws in South Africa's military planning, resource allocation, and crisis management. While the mission was undertaken with good intentions, the reality on the ground has been nothing short of disastrous for many soldiers. The South African military confirmed on Tuesday, 25 February, the repatriation of a group of wounded soldiers to South Africa for high level medical care. It is believed that the group, whose members have not yet been disclosed, has been admitted to one military hospital in Pretoria. With growing calls for withdrawal, ongoing repatriation efforts, and fierce political debates over the role of the SANDF, the coming months will be critical in determining South Africa's future in the DRC. What remains clear is that the safety and well being of deployed soldiers must be prioritized above all else, and any future military interventions must be backed by proper planning, support, and a clear objective.